sideline, prone, pulled to sit, sitting, standing, horizontal suspension, and protective extension. In these positions, the health professional should look for variability in the movement of the baby, muscle tone, tightness or floppiness of muscles that would interfere with normal movement patterns, and the ability to move against gravity. In our exam, we will be comparing and contrasting the movement of two babies. Zachary, 6 months, is healthy and developing normally. All the movement highlighted in our exam is typical for the baby's age and is necessary for continued normal motor development. Michael, 6 months adjusted age, has been assessed as exhibiting atypical motor development and has been referred for therapy. First, in supine, notice that Zachary is able to maintain his head in midline while exhibiting anti-gravity movement of his arms and legs toward midline. Also, he is capable of pelvic lifting. However, Michael has difficulty maintaining his head in midline, with few anti-gravity movements of arms and legs. He's unable to lift his pelvis. Also note the fisting of his hands. When Zachary is presented an object, he maintains an anti-gravity position of the arms and legs while grasping for and playing with the object. He also continues to maintain his head in midline. Michael is incapable of grasping the object and continues to demonstrate asymmetrical positioning of the head and upper extremities. When tracking a moving object, Zachary is able to follow that object from side to side, 180 degrees across the midline. Michael can only partially track the object and has difficulty tracking beyond the midline. As Zachary rolls to prone, he continues to utilize anti-gravity arm and leg movement. This activates abdominal muscles to initiate the weight shift to rolling. As he passes through sideline, lateral head and trunk righting are needed to complete the movement. Michael's inability to perform anti-gravity arm and leg movements prohibits activation of abdominal muscles necessary to initiate weight shift for rolling. Also, the asymmetrical head position interferes with this movement. When movement is facilitated, Michael assists in rolling to sideline, and his head turn and midline orientation of the arms are seen. However, his inability to laterally flex head and trunk prevents completion of the roll, trapping his arm. Hand fisting continues. Zachary is able to maintain a sideline position while manipulating and playing with an object. This indicates balance between back extensors and abdominal muscles. While Michael is able to maintain a sideline position, there is increased extensor tone, particularly evident in neck hyperextension and retraction in the non-weight-bearing arm. In prone, Zachary demonstrates strong extension and abduction in the hips and lower extremities. This becomes the stabilizing base of support and allows head and trunk lifting, and the ability to move the arms forward to reach for and play with objects. Michael, because of inadequate hip extension and excessive flexion abduction of the lower extremities, is unable to bear weight on extended arms or lift his trunk from the support surface. This frog leg position prevents side-to-side weight shifting necessary to develop forward reaching. Zachary's ability to laterally weight shift is possible because of the extension-abduction position of hips and lower extremities. This allows for the lateral head and trunk righting and frees his non-weight-bearing arm for forward reaching. For Michael, the excessive flexion abduction in the hips and lower extremities prevents a stable base of support, causing shifting of his weight forward. This inhibits head and trunk lifting and prohibits forward arm reach. When pulled to sit, Zachary starts with shoulder elevation to initiate movement. He is able to lead the movement with good forward flexion of his head. Notice the chin tuck. There is activation of abdominal muscles and hip flexors. At the end of the movement, Zachary is able to maintain his head in an upright position. Michael attempts to stabilize with a shoulder girdle because of poor control of the neck muscles. There is no chin tuck, and he has excessive head lag throughout the entire maneuver. Also, there is no participation of the abdominal muscles or lower extremities. When he reaches the upright position, neck hyperextension and poor head control are observed. In supported sitting, Zachary is able to come forward to reach and grasp for a toy. He is then able to return to an upright position to play with the toy. Notice the good back extension while maintaining the head in midline. In order to prevent falling forward, Michael uses excessive neck and upper back extension, reinforced by scapular retraction. This excessive extension and asymmetrical arm position prevents forward reaching. Also, the strong extensor tone makes it impossible for him to maintain an upright sitting position as he attempts to re-right himself. His inability to maintain a sitting position indicates a lack of balanced abdominal and extensor muscle control in the trunk. When standing, Zachary maintains good head, trunk, and hip alignment. He is also able to bear weight on flat feet, and he demonstrates movement in his legs. Notice that he moves his arms freely in space while maintaining good back extension. Michael requires more trunk support to maintain an upright position and is unable to maintain his head in midline. You can also observe the influence of asymmetrical tonic neck reflex on the upper extremities. He is unable to bear weight on flat feet. By looking at Michael from the side, you can observe his inadequate hip extension. This results in hip flexion, which causes forward tilting of the upper trunk and head. In horizontal suspension, Zachary maintains good alignment of the head, trunk, and hips using strong extensor muscle activity. There is a variety of upper and lower extremity movement against gravity. Michael exhibits inadequate neck, trunk, and hip extension against gravity, which interferes with his ability to produce a variety of arm and leg movements. Once again, we witness the influence of asymmetrical tonic neck reflex on his upper extremities and his inability to maintain head in midline. In protective extension, Zachary is able to bring both arms spontaneously forward to protect himself against downward movement. During the movement, he continues to maintain anti-gravity head, trunk, and hip alignment and a good midline orientation of the head. Michael's inability to bring his arms forward is directly related to the inadequate anti-gravity extension he demonstrated in horizontal suspension. In addition, the asymmetrical tonic neck reflex also interferes with his ability to bring arms to midline for a protective response. What if the exam reveals atypical movement patterns? For an accurate diagnosis, a pediatric neurologist, developmental and behavioral pediatrician, or a physiatrist should be consulted. However, the first consideration